You have said your brother's death in 2004, along with many former classmates, floats like a ghost in the studio with you and finds its way into your work. But it wasn't until a couple of years ago that you took a more direct approach into dealing with that ghost when you started the hometown opioid portraits. Can you talk a little bit about what prompted this more direct look at the losses through portraits of those lost to addiction, and how that compares to your other work?
Yeah, the portraits, they just felt more direct because everybody understands a portrait. It's more familiar. And the previous ways I had approached talking about, my brother's death or just mortality in general was through like symbolism, through landscape, through art history references, things that are a bit more like less democratic. And so originally, when I did my first portrait for this opioid series, I didn't know it was going to be a series. I was just doing it for a friend who'd reached out. And then after that, they were just so thankful that I, would do that for them for free, that I just thought I should reach out to more people in my community, from my hometown, and see if that was something that they wanted too. And it was. And people were, some of these people had been passed away for 20 years, 25 years. And just for them, I think it was important to have somebody just want to pay respect and also sort of memorialize them in a painting. It seemed to be an important thing, more so than I knew going into it. So I thought, well, portraits are a way that like everybody, like I said, understands a portrait. You know, Before, when I had done portraits, uh, maybe of my brother and things, there were usually like symbols layered into it, and it became more complex, more layers of translation to get misconstrued as to what it's about. And I wasn't necessarily trying to talk about it directly. I was talking about my own fear of mortality too, through referencing him and other people. And so this was just, I wanted to be as clear as possible and as pure as possible. And so that's how this series started. So you mentioned that your work is attempting to visually capture the idea that memory is intangible and oftentimes distorted. How do you think the process of the weaving and unweaving, and then using the dye to color the images, how do you think that plays into the idea?
I think that is. I'm actually very process driven in my work. I get really wrapped up in process, and I think with weaving a fabric and unweaving it and then reweaving it, and also the dye work itself, it's similar to watercolors, very fluid. It just doesn't stay. Fabric is shifts, and so it just kind of, the way when you remember someone, each time you're remembering them, you're connecting those little like snaps of things going on in your brain, all that stuff. And so each time the memory changes just a little bit, and it starts to connect to new memories. So I think that the process creates a shift in the image, that it is something that's recognizable, but it's blurry. And so the further away you are, the more focus it has. The more you try to go into it and look at it and see what it is, you start to lose that focus. And I think that's sometimes the same way with memory and memories of people, is you start to lose that person, or lose a sense of sometimes a person when you spend too much time thinking on it. I don't know if that's very clear or
No,
not.
I think that makes sense, and it's similar to what I was saying as well with those. That's why they work so well together. Is
Yeah.
that it's sort of the story of a story, and it's sort of like telephone, where it gets changed a little bit, but it's the overall feel is there, of the story. But I think they're really successful though. In that, the more I learned about the process, the more it made so much sense to me